Good morning. On behalf of Knowledge Forum of Cooperative Bankers, I welcome you all to this session on artificial intelligence and data analytics for banks. The banks, the public sector, private sector, and cooperative banks have almost all the technological products, and we can say that they are saturated. Then, what will give the differentiation to the banks? That is artificial intelligence and data analytics. Now, the banks are using chatbots, customized product offerings, fraud detections, cyber security, loan performance and monitoring, thanks to AI and data analytics, through which banks are able to leverage technology for new product offerings, internal checks, and security. To explain about the role of artificial intelligence and data analytics in banks, today we have Mr. Senthil Muthu, who is the Technical Director, Technology Enablement Financial Services from KPMG, that is one of the top four consultancy companies in the world. He is having rich experience in banking technology, not only in consulting area, but also in implementation. He is also having rich international exposure in banking technology implementation. We welcome Mr. Senthil Muthu and his team from KPMG to this wonderful seminar. Once again, I welcome you all to this webinar. Thank you.
So very good morning, all, and thank you, Rajkumar sir, for introducing us. And we are happy to be available today among the distinguished members, and we welcome you to the session and for this knowledge forum. And we are happy to be associated today. As introduced by Rajkumar sir, I'm one of the directors in KPMG Tech Enablement Services, which predominantly looks into financial services. And currently, I'm leading the core banking center of excellence in KPMG, which caters to the needs of both India and international. And today, I have with me Mr. Bhaskar Mukherjee and Ramakrishnan Venkatachalam, who's also part of my team. And many of you must be aware of Bhaskar Mukherjee. He's leading our cooperative banks sector practice. He's leading most of the cooperative sectors. Is a common name from the KPMG that most of you must be aware of. Bhaskar, if you're there, you can just come on video and you can speak.
Hi, good morning, all. Thanks, Senthil, and thanks all of you for this webinar. And happy to participate in this. I'm with KPMG since last 8 years, and as introduced by my colleague Senthil, yes, I'm working into cooperative sector across India for technology and financial aspect, and we are providing end-to-end IT consulting services to cooperatives across India. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Bhaskar. Ram, if you're there on the call.
Good morning, everyone. This is Ramakrishnan. Currently, I'm part of Senthil's team managing the core banking implementation side. So I have close to 16 years of experience in managing predominantly on the banking side. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you, Ram. So without waiting further, let me start the crux of the topic today, that is the data analytics and artificial intelligence, the banks. So let me share my screen. So the crux of the topic is that artificial intelligence and data analytics for the bank. This is the topic that has been in discussion for at least for last 5 years in different formats. While people must be aware of the fact that we have been talking about data mart, then data warehouse. Now the banks have come out with data lakes, which is even a much bigger picture. Then and top of your data warehouse, data lakes, we have something called machine learning, which is being built on top of it. Machine learning is nothing but a subset of your artificial intelligence. So I have tried to put this entire presentation in a more simplified form because it was getting too technical. So I've tried to put this in a more simplified form that anyone and everyone who comes from a banking background will understand these presentation. And you can reserve your questions in the last, and you can talk about it. Um Bhaskar, who is working with me, he will also pitch in between in case if there is anything that is happening on cooperative sector, because we are also a consultant for few of the state cooperative banks and district central cooperative banks and some of the apex cooperative institutions. So we are working with them, so we will also share our experience, what they are doing in the similar space and what they are planning to do, because we know a couple of RFPs also is in a pipeline that will be floated soon, which we can also discuss that how this is going to help actually. So the agenda for today is that we have 7 topics that we will cover. One is data analytics overview and how these data sources and what types of data that is going to come. Then data analytics architecture, that's the most important topic that I will spend some time. Data analytics use cases. So I have just captured some of the use cases, but we can talk more about those use cases. Then what is machine learning and artificial intelligence, and followed by artificial intelligence and machine learning advantages. So I structured in such a way that we are going in a sequential manner. Today, if you ask me, artificial intelligence and machine learning, they are both hand in hand because machine learning is subset of artificial intelligence. And for artificial intelligence and machine learnings to perform, you should definitely have data analytics and your data source where your artificial and machine learning has some data to process and speak about it. So that's a fuel for artificial intelligence and machine learning. Without data, there is no artificial intelligence and machine learning, right? So let me move to the next part. So data analytics. Coming to data analytics, the understanding of data analytics is mostly how do we have a set of data. And recently, I've seen a post in one of my LinkedIn connects. He has said we have so much of data. What we will, how we can use it, how to convert into meaningful insights, and that's where your data analytics comes. So we have a lot of data in the form of different forms, and it is with us. It could be our customer data, the mobile number, the transaction history, the balances, the credit history, etc. So these things are there in the there with us, and there are data which we can get it from our partners. There are data which we still have it but may not be related to our customers. So data analytics is in one of the important aspects on which lays on data and what we will do with the data. That's the most important thing. And in simplified form, it's converting a raw data into a meaningful insight or meaningful work that makes it more useful for us. So analytics is majorly defined into 4 categories. One is descriptive analytics, diagnostic analytics, predictive analytics, and prescriptive analytics. Descriptive speaks about what has happened and what is happening with that data. That speaks about more about descriptive analytics data. Diagnostic analytics data speaks about what has happened. For example, on particular day I want to see total number of withdrawals. I see surge in my total ATM transaction in that particular area. So it keeps me that why on particular day my cash has gone out in my ATM machine. So I can see that data. It could be because of multiple reasons. It could be a day before a vacation, or it could be a long holidays, or that's maybe the on particular day there's a power outage in all other places, and one only in our system it was working. So it helps us to analyze what has happened on that day. Predictive analytics speaks about the futuristic aspect, the trend. Basically, the trend analysis is what largely we see in the predictive analytics. For predictive analytics, you need to have a historical data for us to predict, and they should without a historical trend, we cannot do a prediction. So that is more from the predictive. And prescriptive analytics speaks about what should be done, basically. So what should be done is what speaks about the prescriptive analytics, and more speaks about how to act on what is what has to be done on that analytics. So that's more about prescriptive analytics. So this is largely what analytics, but how do we get the data and where the data comes from? So before where we get the data from, we should try to understand what are the types of data that is available with us, in the sense that would be coming to us and how we will be getting those data. So the data is classified into three types. One is structured data, next one is semi-structured data, and the unstructured data. And normally the structured data comes through a well-defined source that is within, which lies within our IT architecture, or the data lies within us. So the most important part, it could be our data coming from our core banking solution, it could be from our CRM solution, it could be from our loan management solution. So whatever we have within a payment solution, so whatever we have, the data, we know where the data is from, who's the owner of the data, where it is coming from, who's using the data. So you have every detail about the structured data. Semi-structured data, it's something lies between structured and unstructured data, where there is no only a partial relationship can be established with the structured data. For example, uh, data that is coming from a CIBIL or from a credit bureau or a credit companies, for example, from our DSAs, someone has applied for a loan. So we know that who has applied for the loan, but they need not be our customer actually. They are yet to be processed as a customer. And we mean there are customer touch points where someone wants to apply for a new want to open an account. So these are semi structured data. Still they are not our customers, but we have their data, and we will be still using that data for, it could be for multiple reasons. We can even do a cross selling, marketing, etc. That is semi structured data. Then you have the last one is a unstructured data. This could be a random thing that comes through. For example, CCTV recordings and your call center data, customer complaints. A customer complaint need not to be your own customer. It could be someone who's unhappy about your services or something else. They could even call you. Let's say DD. A DD is being issued to non-customers also. He may raise a complaint, but then you may have the data from them. So these are very unstructured data, and they might not have any relationship with a bank, as well as they might not come through our partner entities. Now, we as an organization, we will have these three types of data any given time. But what happens with most of the banks in India, the traditional banks as well as cooperative banks, we more focused about the structured data. That's where our MIS data, everything gets prepared, our analytics, everything prepared most from the structured data. Now, most of the banks in India, especially in the private sector, and some of the top 4 5 nationalized bank, the scheduled commercial banks, have started looking at semi-structured and unstructured data. So now they have coming out with a lot of things, especially with banks like HDFC, State Bank of India. They have a huge repository, and data. State Bank of India being one of the pioneer, they are the one which they went with a huge data lakes, which is something superior with data warehouse. Let me give a quick differentiation between a data warehouse and data lakes. Data warehouse largely process your metadata, so which means that it process mostly the data that is available within the system, and doesn't consider any data that is coming from the external sources. But while data lakes has both semi-structured and structured data, that is half processed data, and it converts into a meaningful sites. For example, as I told, if I have a data from my call center, how many calls that is getting recorded and what for it is getting recorded, is it for compliance and those things. So we have these data, and everything get processed, everything well structured within the data lakes. So now what is happening here is that most of the leading banks, as well as I think NABARD is also going to come up with a huge concept. But again, the structure of NABARD is that being an apex institution for all cooperative sector, and as well as for the rural banking, they may come out with a beautiful architecture which will like connecting all the rural and cooperative banks. So similarly, whatever data lakes that is come into picture now, that's where you also have these troubles. Let me be very frank with you. Like, you get random calls from people asking you to take loan and all, because that the data getting shared. So that our data is getting shared. And one more point that I want to make it here, while I want to cover the topic today, but I didn't cover it, I would keep that data, that topic later for the security topics, in case if you have consent management. Consent management is an aspect, an important subject that is regulated, especially in EU, and as well as the North American region, as part of their PDPL, Personal Data Protection Law, and Global Data Protection, GDPR. So while in India, it's in a proposal stage, which is likely to be, it has been proposed and it has taken back. But I think any given time this will come in, because, but otherwise also we have our data protection laws. So to have your data protected, the consent management is very important. Today there are solutions available to manage consent, which data I want to give, which data I don't want to share. But frankly speaking, today you have no other option. To avail certain services, you have to click the tick box saying that I would like to share the following details with so and so entity, so that they may use my data judiciously. But the I mean, the disadvantage is that sometimes it gets into a trouble, in the sense frequent marketing calls and etc. But as a customer it may be a trouble, but for a bank it's a valuable data. So the data sources and the types of data is what matters. And today, as a in a well connected era, where we are well connected with multiple systems, and especially there's one particular point I've written here: open api is, it's a new technology. It's like making yourself exposed to multiple systems, where you can connect to various peripheral datas, and these datas could be your partner data, and as well as it could be your data. For example, you may tie up with another bank for a credit card, or a card vendor, or it could be a DSA, a direct selling agent, or from in this aspect, your PACs from cooperative societies. It could be a PACs, your district central cooperative banks, urban cooperative banks. So there could be an open APIs in terms of exchanging the data. So the data flow happens, and only the point here is that how how carefully we are utilizing, and how judiciously we are using, and how optimizedly we are using the semi-structured and unstructured data. That's the most important thing, that in the present era, and that's where you have your next lead that you will be getting from the types of data. So this is what in types of data we have. I'm just giving a brief architecture. This was presented in recent which is getting presented, part of one of the recent data lakes architecture, and this was presented by HP for one of the presentation. I'm just taking a snapshot of their solution, but this is what quite common in other places. So you see the various aspects of data flow. One, on the right side, you see data consumption layer, and next to towards your left, you see the data source layer, and in between we have data ingestion layer, data foundation layer, data processing layer, and the infrastructure to handle it. So on top of it, where you see your analytics and AI and ML models, and AI cognitive models also available. So the data consumption layer is where is the from left to right, is where you see the entire data flows, and it gives into a meaningful insights through your AI and your analytics zone. So this comes from your IoT. IoT is your Internet of Things. It could be from any of your external sources, could be emails and etc. Even your the payment service providers, the merchants, everywhere. And you have your own external systems, like your CRMs, ERP. CRMs and ERPs mostly comes CRMs. Currently banks are using customer relationship management module, where typically in the marketing side, where we have the lead prospect conversions. So similarly, we have our unstructured data like audio, video, documents, and external data feeds. So this all process into our data ingestion layer, which gets into our data processing layer. From data processing layer, it goes into governance model and data foundation layer. Data foundation layer, where it gets all your storage and everything happens, and top of which your analytics and ML model comes. Especially today, if you see the most predominant machine learning language that is used is Python, which is part of the Google product, and you have your multiple analytic solutions, and you have virtualization tools like your Power BI, you have ClickView, Tableau. These are the solutions, and I'm sure many of you must be using the Power BI interactive tool. That is one more solution that, as part of the Microsoft Office, we are getting today, which you can try. It's simple and easy, and similarly with your Tableau also. So so this is what it is in terms of overall application architecture it looks like. And I know it's a bit of technical, but I try to put it in a word simplified form that you can understand. Next, coming to what could be the use cases of these solutions, what the data that I have. So what is that I'm going to do? One is that I have a data which is from unstructured data, and I know this person is using a particular debit card or a card or a payments. Today, if you see as a person using a Google Pay transaction very frequently in a particular restaurant, can I give him more offers? Can I ask him to spend more? So we have spend analysis and stuff which is part of our our daily spend habits. Then we can see our branch network and performance, like how my branch is performing, and what would be the predictive scenario of that particular branch. Is it a asset branch or is it more of a deposit branch? And what could be the potential of that branch? Even including the customer trends of that particular branch, you can even define the performance of the branch, and you can even help the branch by the first point, like by asking some of your branch members to reach out to certain customers by giving leads for them to sell these products. Today, this is one area where, as a cooperative sector, I believe we are lacking that. Today we have data, but this data, how far it is meaningfully, it's getting shared to our branch people for them to improve business on a daily basis, so that they can today even some of the nationalized banks and some of the private sector banks, I know for a fact that some of my friends who work in these banks have been asked to do marketing, but without having a proper data to do marketing. Because what happens here is that they go and hit that wrong customer. If we have a target, we know how they are using the data. It is easy for even to uplift the branch and even help them to achieve those marketing. So that is another area that we can focus on. Customer attrition, why the customer is leaving. Today we will know that it could be a multiple reason based on the transactions. Maybe he's not getting a proper services, and we can even compare those things and analyze why the customer is moving out. And what is the best offer I can provide? If this person is more of a savings habit, let's say this customer frequently maintains a huge deposit in savings, so I can offer him a best interest rate for him to put some deposits, or I can offer him some cross selling products. Today bank assurance is one of the product that most of the banks are doing, but at least in cooperative sector, mostly focus on deposits and some of the loans. Let's say if the customer is a prompt repayer, we need not to always go for a data to our credit bureau to do credit analysis. We can have our own credit analysis to do these transactions, and where we can help them to give them the best loans. So especially let's say a KCC data that we have very frequently, and this customer is really a prompt customer, and he pays very sincerely. And we can offer him in, like there are since you are most of them are from corporate sector, most of them doesn't even aware the benefit of KCCs. So we can explain to them, we can give them short term credit, interest free credits, so those benefits can be availed. So customer education also can be done, a default prediction can be done. I spoke about cross sell and upsell of banking products. Credit decisioning is another area that is mostly used, especially in private sector bank. The most important thing is about the salaried employees. So for the salaried employees, they don't go for a CIBIL score for to a credit decisioning, or they go and see how the balances and all. It's about the customer transaction pattern, and with that we can even offer them a best rate of interest, and also we can have a quick credit decisioning, so we can quickly process these loans. So this is some of the analytics uses. So machine learning is more from predictive modeling, and it's more from using historical data. And unlike see, it's always a subset of artificial intelligence, and mostly on a behavioral pattern. So it goes and does a self evaluation, also does a self learning. So, and the self coding also happens as part of the machine learning activities, where most of the program outputs are or based on certain learning patterns. So so we have certain tools in the market that does machine learning, and machine learning helps also with mostly from the data analysis and analysis and visualization. So today, to do those data analysis part or data analytics part that we have seen all the various patterns to analyze, so machine learning is one of the thing that helps us to do. And machine learning is we have a chatbots, but most of the chatbots that is being provided, or doesn't it's on a predefined questions. So there are certain predefined questions, and it answers only those questions. But when you have a ML based chatbots, even it satisfies your customer needs based on, it goes and analyzes based on the certain conversations it had with the previous customers, and help them to do a specific answers, not, it doesn't provide a generic answer. So those are some of the importance of machine learning. Same, I'm just moving to artificial intelligence. It's more from the technical side. So same with the artificial intelligence. So again, it's a subset of your machine learning. So it uses a lot of cognitive tools and pattern recognitions. So for example, it takes us here, compared to your machine learning and your AI and analytics part, artificial intelligence goes to an extent it takes decisions on behalf of you, and these decisions should be in a controlled fashion. Again, yes, there are merits and demerits, but these decisionings are under our should be in our control and on a predefined parameters. So certain cases in other places, uh, you need not wait for a particular employee to initiate a decision for him to offer a loan. So AI involves itself and offers a loan, and it disperses a loan to an extent. There are banks which is doing this, and this is mostly based on the machine learning and analytics capabilities that they have. So it has, you can even define what kind of task you want to give. Currently, it is recommended to have weak AI specific task for certain decision making, and certain strong decision makings are not allowed in, especially because of conservative nature. While this is still under evaluation, but we didn't get into too much into it. uh, but maybe next 2 or 3 years this would be in a blooming stage, and mostly it would be operated by these AI based decision making tools, which will come in the form of your chatbots, or it could be a part of the AI based characters which will sit in front of you and discuss about it. And especially your metaverse banking, which I have not mentioned anything here. The metaverse banking, which comes with a person in front of you, need not be an actual person who should be sitting in front of you. It could be an AI based humanoid which can talk and provide service offerings based on the data that it has, and it can process these data on behalf of the customers. So I think we spoke about it in large about these actions, especially fraud detection. Today we have multiple frauds, and today these checks and balances are done by AI ML based detection based on the pattern and patterns of frauds that has happened earlier, and it keeps a check for. And these fraud detections you can see even in your normal social media sites. For example, if you try to log in a particular computer after a long time, it captures your geolocation, your geo data, and ensures that this person has never logged in from this particular place. It allows you to go and ensure you're the person. Or sometimes I have my own example, where in one of the nationalized bank, I mean State Bank of India, it never allowed me to log in from Nigeria, because Nigeria is where we get a lot of online frauds once upon a time. So even now we are getting it. So based on the certain location, it allows and it reduces the transactions, and it restricts the type of transactions I want to perform. Similarly, it helps in your credit scoring boost based on certain patterns, your AML, real-time transaction analysis, risk monitoring, AI-based biometrics. KYC process is getting automated completely. I mean, where you don't need an human intervention to do this. Then you have your smart contracts, and today your trading and portfolios based on virtual assistants, which will help to do what kind of trading you want, especially in the trading platforms. And there's one analysis I didn't speak about it earlier as part of analytics, that is geospatial analysis. So this is another type of analytics which helps us to know um the data is coming from where and what time the data has been created. So it is mostly used in your blockchain, where you have your timestamp and your ledger stamp, where who's created the transaction, when they've created the transaction, and which location the transaction has come from. So this is one more thing that has come into picture and mostly is being used. Next is your chatbots. So this is in from more from the functional perspective. I didn't get into too much of technical items, the NLP, natural language processing and all. So I that's it from my side. I'll just leave the forum for interactive discussion, and we may have the Q&A sessions now. So, as I said, the most important thing is that first and foremost thing is that we need to have a data warehouse or data lakes in place, which connects most of our applications today. Most of the banks which we see is that they are more connected only with the core banking solution, because that's where we use most of the data, but we don't integrate our data warehouse with our card management solution or our payment service provider ATM solutions. So those data are not coming into our data warehouse. So that would be the first step. Then getting our data into a much bigger process, which moving into data lakes position, where we can process both structured and unstructured data, which we spoke about it. So most of the time we speak about metadata processing. Metadata processing is mostly about the data what we have. And now the most important point is that how do we bring the external data, and spoke about the open API. I mean, other day I was talking to our own our ex MD of TNSCB Bank, where he was suggesting uh, identifying. He came out with the concept of a consortium of loan concept among between the DCCBs, where in case if there is a potential loan creditor whom we can fund, we can fund this money. So that data doesn't flow to another DCCB, or the other DCCB may not aware, or one DCCB may be rich in cash. So this can be achieved through connecting these data together under data lakes. Being an Apex bank, TNSCB can hold it, or similarly any state Apex can hold it and can be a facilitator. So in that way it can help. The in terms of technologies that we see is that we have mostly currently we have our Python being mostly used in I mean, for Python is mostly used ML, which is even used by Google Analytics today. Today, the search engine mostly uses that language. There are Microsoft has come out with a couple of other scenarios, and most importantly, today biggest challenge we have here is that hosting this data warehouse or data lakes with a huge volume of data coming from different places. On-premises model of holding this data is getting a big challenge. So banks are even considering moving to cloud, especially public clouds like AWS and Azure, based clouds they are coming up, and these companies are also coming out with their own. Microsoft has come out with their own AI based tool, and similarly AWS also has come out with their own AI based tools actually, sir.
Actually, sir, you must be aware about ADF, automated data flow. So a few minutes back when Senthil discussing about this integration between PACs and DCCVs and few areas across our country. Few state cooperative banks, they are also having PACs. I'm based at Calcutta. So West Bengal State Cooperative Bank, in few parts of West Bengal, they have some PACs. So here in eastern part of India and some portion in western part of India, the DCCVs and state cooperatives, they are managing a virtual data of PACs. So what is ADF? Automated data flow. So data flow already described by Senthil. So for public sector and private sector banks, RBI, they have directly fetched data from the central server. So where you are managing your data warehouse, centralized data. So there are more than 340 plus defined reports as per our BI format. So very soon, within 1 or 2 financial year, RBI and NABARD going to introduce this ATF in cooperative sector, because if you consider the national level tax core banking application and statewide core banking application. So ultimate goal is data warehousing and centralized data, and in future, obviously, the data lake in cooperative sector. So in the recent scenarios, most of the big uh, banks, cooperative banks, I can give you some example from Maharashtra, like Satara, Pune DCCB, Kolhapur DCCB, Ahmednagar DCCB. In eastern part, West Bengal state cooperative along with all DCCBs. So they are planning for this kind of solution, and uh, the first and foremost, most of the cooperatives, they are having a core banking solution, but they don't have a structured LOS application. So in current scenario, LOS applications having so many additional tools which can be used as better services to your customer. I can add one point apart from Senthil's presentation, that is customer retention. So nowadays, cooperative sector are behind if you compare with private sector and public sector. Uh, Related to digitization. So if we can concentrate, there are so many products. So I can give you one example, very recent, last week I was in Karnataka. So I had a discussion with uh, one government official and Karnataka State Cooperative and Bangalore DCCB. So because of some reason, they have introduced a mobile banking solution to their customers, but they don't have IMPS UPI. So these are the areas we have to pick a proper solution, and we have to give a proper services to my customer so that we can attract more young generated customer for this kind of bank. So these are the areas, and obviously cyber security. Your question, cyber security is one area. Uh, as Senthil rightly pointed out, data warehouse in on premise, which is really tough for a cooperative sector. So there are so many cloud facilities available across India, and cyber security can be introduced, and you have to introduce in a hybrid mode. There are so many models available, so that you can prevent your security, and you can introduce your uh, technology. And this is from my side.